An easy way to make a blade for a birdcage awl. This is WB Fine Woodworking with Don Bullock. Hi there and welcome to WB Fine Woodworking. I'm Don. My friend Rob over at Make Things challenged his viewers to make a stubby awl. I'd been wanting to make a birdcage awl, so I accepted his challenge. For the blades for my awls, I decided to use music wire. Here's how it comes packaged. Each piece of wire is 3 feet long or 914.4 millimeters. I couldn't find a smaller quantity anywhere. This package came through Amazon. With this much wire, I may have to go into the awl making business. That's a possibility. I need to think about that. As the label states, this is made by K&S. It's their stock number 508. 5/32 music wire or 3.97 millimeters. There's 7 pieces in a package. Here's what a piece of the wire looks like out of the package. Now when I used my drill guide to measure the wire to make sure I was using the right size drill, it actually measured 10.564 instead of 5/32. As I mentioned in the beginning, this project was part of a challenge from Rob over at Make Things. In his challenge, Rob pointed out that those of us making our short awls might want to make some changes, so I did. Here are some awls that Rob made as part of his awl challenge. For the blades of his awls, you can see here he used nails. I decided to use the music wire because it was harder steel. In this next clip, I'm kidding Rob that I may have an improvement for his process. Hey Rob, I thought I'd put my 2 cents in on a different way to mount the handle on an awl blade. The process involves putting double stick tape on one side of 2 pennies. The pennies are then attached with the double stick tape to the jaws of a metal vise. The premise here is that copper is softer than steel, so it won't make marks on the blade for the awl. So with the pennies in place, I can put in the steel rod for the awl blade. The first step of preparing the blade is cutting it to the right length. For that, I'm using my Dremel. This process takes a while. I'll speed up the process by going quadruple speed here. An alternate to the Dremel would be a hacksaw. Yes, I need to work on this technique a little bit more. I had a lot of trouble keeping that cutoff wheel on the rod. With the awl blade cut to length, I used the Dremel to rough up one end. That will be the end that will go into the handle. Roughing up this end will help the glue hold the awl blade in the wood handle. Again, I can speed up the video here so you don't have to sit for the whole long process. This is what the end of the blade looked like when I was finished with the Dremel. It's really roughed up and that will give the glue something to hold on to. Now switching to the other end of the awl blade, I had to make a point on it. To do that, I used my oscillating belt sander with the awl blade spinning in an electric drill. This process worked out really well. One thing that separates a birdcage awl from other awls is the fact that the point is actually square instead of round. So I use my files to make the point square. Here I'm filing one of those 4 faces for the awl point. I've seen some use electric grinders for this process, but my thought on that is the grinder might heat up the point of the awl and make it much softer. This file may look pretty old, and that's because it is. It's one of the few tools I have left over from my dad's workshop. About now, some of you are probably wondering why the point of a birdcage awl is square. Well, the birdcage awl was actually designed to drill the holes that are necessary for making a birdcage. They found that the awl could make these fine holes that the pieces of wood or metal needed to fit into to make these bird cages. The awls worked much better than any of the drills that they had at the time. There'll be more about this square blade and how I used the awl in my shop later in this video. Then for each of the other 3 faces, I took the awl blade out of the vise, turned it a quarter turn, and put it back in the vise. No, I'm not sure why I didn't use the pennies for this part of the process. I did notice, however, that I didn't get any marks on the blade of the awl, so I was fortunate with that. In the future, I think using the pennies, though, for this part of the process would be a good idea. With the point of the awl blade ready to go, I put the awl blade back in the vise so that I could put the handle on it. You can also see that the pennies are back in place for this part of the process. Of course, before gluing on the handle, I had to drill a hole for the blade into the awl handle. I could have done this on the lathe, but I forgot before I parted it off. So my drill press and a nice clamp worked out just fine. I find these hand screw clamps very handy for the drill press. In fact, I always have one underneath. I even did a video on how handy it is to have hand screw clamps around the drill press. You might want to look that up. So with the awl handle finished and the blade was all ready, it was time to put the two together. To glue the handle onto the blade, I'm mixing up some epoxy. Now this is some 5-minute epoxy, and that seems to be the best to use for a process like this because it doesn't take very long for it to set up. As you probably will notice here, I'm slapping a lot of epoxy on that blade, and I'll show you how to clean it up later as well. The brushes, my little mixing bowl, and that little pad that holds the brushes are all made from silicone. I published a video, Glue and Silicone Don't Mix, that you might want to check out on my YouTube channel. I also put a little epoxy in the hole for the blade. I thought that might help a little bit. I'm not sure if it did or not. Now for mounting the handle onto the blade, simply put the handle on the blade and twist a little bit. And it twisted right on. To make sure that the handle was seated completely, I used my mallet. Of course, you can see it slipped in the jaws of the vise. That's the main reason for the pennies, by the way. So I had to reposition it a little bit and then get the mallet back up and give it a couple of whacks. Something I've discovered with epoxy is that it will clean up with denatured alcohol. So I grabbed some denatured alcohol and a paper towel and just used that to wipe the end of the blade where a little bit of the epoxy spilled out of the hole. Now here in California, it's almost impossible to get denatured alcohol because of environmental reasons. I bought a can more recently on Amazon. Someone told me you can get them at camping stores because it's used in some camping stoves. Here are some photos of the finished awl. I've already enjoyed using this awl out in my shop. It's really great for marking holes that I need to drill, much better than one of the regular awls or long handle scratch awls that most people use. It's also one of the best looking tools that I have in my shop. I'm taking a lot of pride in it because I made it myself. If you're interested at all in this project, you might want to subscribe to the channel because I'll be putting out some more videos on this awl build and maybe another one as well. There's also the possibility that I may be selling some awls through my website. You can check back or subscribe to the channel because I'll announce it here first. As I zoom in on this blade of the awl, you can see how the tip is squared off. That square shape sort of acts like a drill when you're marking a hole in a piece of wood. In the past, to mark the center of a piece I'm turning, I've used this awl that I got from my dad. It was designed to be tapped with a mallet, so it did work for this kind of process, but it was long and it was hard to get the point exactly in the right position. So this is where the birdcage awl comes in and why I like using it. The blade is much shorter, so it's easier to get that on the center of that X. And rather than tapping the awl, it just needs to be twisted. And that square edge on the tip actually drills a hole into the end of the blank. The music wire worked out really well for the awl blade. Watch for other videos on this project on this channel. In fact, there's one over here. And if you click on my photo over here, you can subscribe to the channel. Thank you all very much for watching.
Well, that's Lexi too. Hi girls, how you doing? How you doing, huh? Are you good girls? Yeah, we're good girls. Oh, thank you for the kisses.